Good afternoon. I hope your Wednesday is going well so far. I'm Julie Broughton. The time now is 12:35. This is Take 6. It's when we chat a little bit after our new newscast and give you an idea as to what you'll see later on our newscast coming up on News 6. Now, Wednesdays, we always like to chat with our friend Erik von Ancken, and he tells us about what he's working on with his Protecting Our Community segment. And Erik, you were writing fast and furious right up until the moment you came on. So,
Yeah,
always busy.
always working, Julie. Always
Yes.
working. How are you?
I'm good, and I have to tell you, I loved your getting results at home yesterday with the peel and stick backsplash. I love peel and stick everything, so I loved the tips on how to do it a little bit better.
And first of all, thank you, Julie. But secondly, the way that came about is so the young lady that you saw in the
Hmm.
story at the end of the story, Thais, um, she called us because hers wasn't sticking,
Yeah,
and that kind of turned us onto this like whole new I don't know, avenue of backsplashing your kitchen, putting tile up in your kitchen, because otherwise you got to hire a tile person and they got to cut tile and they put the mastic behind it in the grout and they charge you a bunch of money. It looks beautiful, but
it does.
we didn't even know that you could just peel and stick it on. And then we learned as we looked into that the way that you probably should do it properly, which is putting the glue behind the peel and stick. So it
Yeah.
was kind of like a two for one, I guess, for us.
Yes, I had no idea. I've never done peel and stick backsplash, but I can't remember if when you came to my house to hang my TV, if my wallpaper was up, but that's peel and stick wallpaper that comes off without damage. It's super easy and they have all sorts of
Yeah,
footprints. Yes, you can do
that
peel and stick
is it still
flooring.
up?
It is. It is. And I actually had it in my old place before, which was a rental, and I had it up for a while and it came down with no damage. So I left it. It was great. So now it's up in my new place. Yeah.
So you could get results at home. I mean, if you want to take over the segment.
I fear that there would probably be lawsuits because I would not do as good of a job as you do. You really know what you're doing. So, I'm going to leave that all to you because do great at that.
You're kind, but I gotta give a shout out here to crafty cameraman Jeff,
Oh,
who's
yeah.
kind of leaning out of the shot because he doesn't typically like being on TV. Except the thing is, Julie. So now that he's kind of my I don't know, partner in crime,
Yes.
sidekick, he is on TV. So
Mhm.
there's no reason to hide anymore, Jeff. And I do have to. All kidding, there he is.
Hey.
I got to give a shout out to him because we do work in tandem. I mean,
Hmm.
we're bouncing ideas off each other, as we're working through a project. Like he really is like my right hand man, and he's definitely a lot of the reason that we get through these projects. I want to say as well as we normally do, or make them look
Yes.
like we do, get through them well.
No, you are the perfect pair, and you definitely both worked as a team when you were at my house hanging my TV, and the bonus that didn't go on TV of hanging my curtains. So, enough about that. I'm really excited about your story that's coming up tonight. You're protecting our community story, and you were telling us about student advocates and how this is really just getting results in some Orlando middle schools, and the program's expanding too, right?
Correct. Yes. So it started as middle schools. They're in five Orlando city middle schools, and they just got approval to go into two high schools
Hmm.
for the first time ever. And this is a big deal because these are adults being paid and well hired and paid full time. And so the new part of this, they've done trials like this. They've placed people in schools, but nothing like this. This gentleman here, his name is Elliot Cohen. He's the first of this batch. So this just started about a year ago, and like I said, five people like him, five of these advocates are now um, in these schools full time. So that means Monday through Friday, every single day, all day long. And Julie, their job doesn't just end there when school gets out. So one of the things we learned about, like what Elliot does, so this is Roberto Clemente in particular, one of the middle schools, is he does whatever it takes. I mean, he calls these kids in the morning, that kid Caden right there. He calls them early in the morning and he follows up late at night. He'll drive to their house. I mean, if they need a ride, they needed tuxes because for the first time ever, they were going to a banquet, some kind of sports banquet. They were receiving awards. So he drove them to the Magic Mall, I think it was, and he got them tuxes. Then he brought them to McDonald's after that, so they would have dinner, and then he got them home about 9:30 that night. The reason that you were just seeing him leaned over like that and crying, I should address that because it probably looks a little weird if you don't get the context here. Um, these young men that he's essentially mentoring them, they described him. I sat down with them and I said, what do you guys think? And in fact, you'll hear this line in our story. If you want the truth, ask a child. And one of them, Caden, was gushing about him. I mean, he said, there's really nobody else in this world that I can count on like Mr. Elliott. They call him Mr. Elliott. He said, he got me out of trouble. He takes care of me. He calls me. He checks up on me. He stays with me. He said he's the reason that his grades are up. He was failing, what was it, music or something, Jeff? Was it music? And Mr. Elliott said that Caden comes to his classroom one day and he's banging on the door, trying to get through the door, trying to, get like shaking the handle. And all he wanted to do was get inside and say, Mr. Elliott, I have an A in music.
Wow.
And so as this young man, this 12-year-old is describing how influential and how important Mr. Elliott has been in this young man's life, we look over at Elliott, Julie, and Elliott is, you saw the video, sitting there holding his face, and the tears are streaming down to the point where, like, I'm not trying to be too graphic, but like it's dripping out of his nose, like he's just bawling. I mean, it was so raw and visceral. I mean, he was so moved by what this 12-year-old was verbalizing. Like I like to say that he lost it. I think is an understatement because I think he didn't expect that. We didn't expect that. I mean, I teared up a little bit for sure. I was definitely moved by that moment. And what we've tried to do, and again, it wasn't an accident that I brought Jeff into the picture here. And Jeff, if you want to come back for a second, Jeff was doing the camera work, and he had 3 cameras set up in this room, Julie, and he was able, I think, to capture this moment and express it on television, and I think you're going to see that tonight. And then the editing, the way that Jeff is editing this all together, I hope you feel some of what we felt in this room and realize the importance of these lead student advocates like Mr. Elliott.
And I know you have kids in middle school. I have a daughter in middle school. We've all been in middle school. It is so hard. Probably one of the hardest periods in an adolescent life, going from that transition of really being a child to transitioning into a teenager and more adulthood. So I love that they started in middle school because that really is such a make it or break it age. And so that makes it even more important what he's doing in that school.
And we call this segment Getting Results, Protecting Our Community. And today's story might seem a little like we're getting away from that a little bit, except here's the thing. These young men that the lead student advocates mentor, you'll hear in the story, they actually, these young men call Mr. Elliott like a brother, like family almost. But these young men have been identified by their schools. And the reason that they're on the school's radar is because they're at risk. So this young man, Caden, he got in trouble, he told me, for using fake money, as he called it, basically some counterfeit cash that he got from somebody. And other things like fighting. They're sometimes at risk of being expelled. They have been suspended over and over again. So these are young people that do not have the brightest future. And so I asked Elliott, what do you think about if you had not come into these young men's lives? Do you ever think about where they would be headed? What would happen to them? And he said, all the time. He said, absolutely all the time. He said, there is certainly a prison, a school to prison pipeline,
Mm.
um, where kids who are on the wrong track and don't get put on that right track, or somehow don't end up on that right track, they do end up throwing their life away. A lot of them do end up locked up. He said, I think about that all the time. I know these kids are at risk of that. And he said, I'm doing everything I can to get them off that path, that pipeline,
Hmm.
that we hear about so often. And Julie, sitting with these kids and hearing their stories and the success and how he's getting through to them and how they look up to him. I mean, it's like they don't want to let him down.
Hmm.
And so many of these kids haven't had anyone in their lives like Mr. Elliott, for that matter, ever, to where suddenly these things matter. School matters, grades matter,
Yeah.
not fighting, not failing. It matters
Mhm.
to them, if for no other reason, to not let down Mr. Elliott.
Wow. Well, I can't wait to see your story. That is such a great tease, such a great 10-minute tease we just had. But I'm so excited to see it.
I hope we do him justice, Julie. I say this about every story we do. It is certainly our job to try and, as I say to people, to do you right, right? But
Hmm.
but to do them justice, to accurately portray them doing what they do, because that's our job, to tell their
Hmm.
stories. But to get it right, I mean, I take that so seriously. I take that to heart. And this one today, we really worked hard to try and get it right. And like I said, I hope you feel what we felt in that room.
Yeah. Well, you and Jeff are the best of the best. So I know that you did Mr. Elliott justice, and I can't wait to see.
Thank you. Here's at 6 o'clock and at 7 o'clock tonight.
All right, Eric, we will talk to you later. Thanks so much for taking time out of your day, as always.
Thanks, Julie. Bye bye.
Bye. All right, time to get a check of your forecast for you now. Really a beautiful day. I know I was out walking with my furry son Jake before I came in, and he was loving the weather. Still a little bit breezy, but so much sunshine. Here's what it looks for you right now on the satellite and radar imagery. Clear skies out there, no rain. That will change for us over the next 48 hours or so as we head into Friday, and we're watching our next front. Right now, though, really feeling nice out there. It is 67 in Orlando, 67 in Cocoa Beach. If you're on Palm Coast, you are sitting at 63, 65 in Ocala, and 66 in Leesburg. Now, it is on the breezy side. Once again, winds are coming in out of the north and even northeast at times. Really breezy along the coast. We do have hazardous beach conditions in place again today. 18-mile-per-hour winds right now in New Smyrna Beach. 15-mile-per-hour winds out of the north in Daytona Beach. 16-mile-per-hour winds in Cocoa Beach. And a little bit lighter north and west Ocala. Your winds are at 6 miles per hour. High pressure sitting over the Gulf of Mexico has been our main weather maker for the last few days. That will continue into the day tomorrow and part of the day on Friday, but then we see that front coming in on Friday. That brings with it a 40% chance of showers and a few thunderstorms, but we get that out of here just in time for the weekend. 68 and sunny on Saturday, 70 and sunny on Sunday, and then nice as we head into next week. Chief Meteorologist Tom Sorrells will break all of this down for you on News 6 starting at 4. Ginger Gadsden is on a special assignment today, but she will check in with us at 4 to let us know where she is and what she's doing. Lisa Bell and I will be there as well. We're so happy you stopped by and visited us a little bit on Take 6. If you have any questions or comments for us, head to clickorlando.com/take6, and I will see you at 4.